What's shaking, my North County family? I'm your girl Kelly, here to give you the lowdown and the rundown on what happened in St. Louis County government this week, and I'm gonna get right into it with a couple of highlights. And the first one with the St. Louis County Council meeting. Yes, y'all, this mask mandate saga continues. So during the meeting, again, I don't go to these meetings in person anymore with hundreds of people with no mask on talking craziness. uh Kellyanne McGowan ain't gonna be there. Okay, so I was watching it virtually, and there were over 50 public comments, which equated to like 2 hours of folks really just getting their issues off, and providing this proven information about the lack of effectiveness of wearing masks in the prevention of spreading COVID-19. And also, people had, they were reading quotes directly from the Declaration of Independence. Um, there was one woman that mentioned something about how this was considered like, and the county council with the mask mandate potentially, and then the vaccinations, these are crimes against humanity. You know what? Watching that meeting was a crime against humanity. That's all I'm gonna say. It was just pure. It was it was really yeah, it was offensive. So, anyways, last week, Councilwoman Clancy, she introduced legislation that would enforce a mask mandate in St. Louis County through ordinance. So, Tuesday night at the last county council meeting, she moved to have that piece of legislation perfected. And she wanted it perfected so it could be potentially moved for final passage, for a final vote. And so, council members, they expressed their concerns with the legislation. I know there are also concerns expressed around the punishment or the consequences for people if they don't adhere to this, like to wearing a mask indoors. And I think, like, if folks, don't wear the mask or whatever, they could be incarcerated for like up to a year and or fine, something like that. And so some folks were expressing their concerns with that language. Um, yeah, so at the end of the day, though, the motion, it actually failed to be presented for, I guess, for the full vote. Councilwoman Clancy, she requested for a roll call because she was just like, let's get this on record to see who's for it or not. Yeah, Chairwoman Days, she shut it down and was like, nah, sis, we ain't doing no roll call. We moving on. So, Councilwoman Clancy also introduced a resolution upholding the public health order issued, was it last week or the week before, what have you, regarding the mask mandate. And that was matumboed straight up by the county council. So, yeah. Next steps with this, I don't know, however, it was a couple weeks ago, the courts issued, or maybe it was last week, the courts issued a temporary restraining order with regards to this mask mandate in St. Louis County. St. Louis County is going to go back to the courts and appeal it, I guess, appeal the decision or what have you. And then I know also there was a request for a committee of the whole meeting to discuss Councilwoman Clancy's legislation and with the mask mandate and all of that. So yeah, the the mask mandate drama, it will continue. Moving along to another highlight, the Justice Center. So the Justice Health and Welfare Committee meeting, they convened yesterday to discuss the various issues at the Justice Center, including the proposed $2 an hour wage increase for corrections staff. And using coin from the American Rescue Plan Act from the feds, using that coin for this wage increase. And so the $2 per hour increase, and this is what I learned yesterday, the $2 per hour wage increase, it comes from the Justice Department. Basically, like they've been peeping, like when their staff leave to get jobs, correction jobs in other places, they peep like where those folks go. Obviously, where they go, they're getting paid more than what they were getting paid through St. Louis County, and they said on average it comes out to about an increase in $2 per hour. So that's where that dollar amount comes from. So when we're talking about the issues, like why don't people want to work in corrections? First off, apparently this is something that's happening across the country overall. Um, Folks ain't trying to work in corrections. Um, Something that was mentioned during the meeting specific to St. Louis County, which is of concern. On Monday, August 9th, they were forced to shut down 9 housing units because of a lack of staff to cover the shift. And so, again, what are issues with this lack of staff? So there's a lot of turnover in St. Louis County. Their pay, they're not paying, excuse me, I guess a competitive wage compared to some of the other area in their correction staff. So folks are leaving, and then because of that turnover, folks resigning, the staff that are there have to work hella overtime. So you have folks working a whole bunch of hours, in a profession where you have to be alert, right? You have to be well, because that could really endanger your life because you are, around detainees. So that's a safety concern. So, they were also mentioning how, because they're short staffed, all hands are on deck. And there's a sister that she provided a comment during the meeting. She's like a case manager or something. And she said that she's even had to kind of step in with regards to corrections when, they didn't have anyone to work. So something else that was discussed, some detainees have been held in the jail for 2 years because of the backlog with the courts. With COVID, obviously nobody was going to court, right? So there's this backlog. The courts are, trying to catch up, I guess. And because of that, again, folks have been in the jail for way longer than what, they normally would be. The Justice Department, they are working on recruitment and retention of staff. They're obviously mentioned, look, this bump in pay will really help with not only keeping staff, but also with with getting staff, with attracting staff. So the concerns from the county council, there were a couple raised regarding this proposed $2 per hour wage increase. First off, the sustainability of the wage increase, because again, the director, I think his name is Burris, he mentioned, that look, we just felt like, utilizing this ARPA coin from the feds, that's kind of like the quickest solution. However, this ARPA funding, y'all, it's not like gonna be here forever, right? It'll be here, then it'll be gone. So again, the county council is really thinking about making sure that that wage increase, like it continues, and then like it's not like, oh, you got it now and then it goes away, because that would be trash. So trying to think through the sustainability of the wage increase. And then also something was raised as well, because this increase would only go towards corrections officers. That's kind of what I was gathering. However, you have, again, other staff members that are filling in, right? Because all hands are on deck. So they're filling in or, to support those staff shortages. But this raise, they ain't gonna get no raise. So, that's kind of messed up. So that concern was raised too. So the next steps with this, the St. Louis County Council, they plan on moving swiftly to come up with some type of a resolve or solution to this, because this is really a problem. All right, y'all, we rounding out with the legislative corner. So there were some pieces of legislation passed that I'm gonna mention just a few pieces of legislation. So there were grant funds accepted Tuesday night at the county council meeting. So one, up to $9.9 million to support various Department of Human Services programs. There's another amount of grant funds accepted, up to $9,000 from WashU to support the health department's national network of sexually transmitted diseases clinical prevention training center project. There was also legislation passed accepting a reimbursement of up to $100,000 from St. Louis City to the county's health department for testing and treatment services provided to patients at the county health department related to COVID. Also, there was legislation passed that will support Bi-State with their budget for the year, fiscal year 2022. So they approved an appropriation of $164 million to Bi-State. Councilman Tracus was the lone no vote on that piece of legislation. So that's all I have for you this week. Please be well, stay safe out there, and you'll see me soon. Peace.